Call the meeting to order.
Someone be on door duty.
Roll call.
McKnight,
Here.
Myers,
Here.
Roa,
Here.
Vogel,
Here.
Kinder. I can't read tonight.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, notice of public hearing.
Notice of the hearing began in the Meadville Tribune on June 14th.
Invitation for public comments regarding games of skill.
The first name on the list is Christian Mayer.
Hi, I'm Christian. I hate these things, and my biggest complaint about them is that they're largely completely unmonitored. So, and I mentioned this to State Representative Roy, who didn't really seem that concerned about the fact that any child, teenager, could go into most of these establishments, use these machines, which is essentially a gambling machine. With no detraction to it, so I feel like that's a problem. If at the very least you're putting in some sort of ordinance, there should be some sort of monitoring of these, so that there is a person present at all times to deter, just as any sort of other establishment that might have gambling or something like that. So that is my biggest problem. Thank you.
I know it's a public hearing. Can we recap for the public what we're thinking? And what this is a public hearing on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe.
I think we could if you wanted us to.
Oh, I'm not saying I'll do it, but I'm saying, is it valuable? I'm saying, is it valuable to
This
bring?
meeting is about, there's a large concern of the games of skill that are being opened in Meadville. As he pointed out, safety, children using. There's also concern from business owners about the type of clientele that store is bringing, as opposed to what we're comfortable or what we'd like to see in Meadville. Some concerns that it's going to invite more trouble, more hassle for the police. There's more, I've noticed some litter. So there are concerns, valid concerns, that people have. So this meeting is to bring that out and give everyone an opportunity to understand, and so we make an informed decision when it's ready to be made.
Yeah, and in particular, this is a zoning hearing, so we were considering 3 courses of action: a tax on games of skill, a business license required for each game that would come with a fee, and a zoning provision. So this is this is a zoning hearing, so this is about the provision that would limit to not be downtown. So essentially to be in the right.
Right.
Yeah,
So this
okay.
is to hear the public input on that. So what would end up happening after this is that the amendment then goes to the City Planning Commission for their comment, and to the county for their comment, and then we'll schedule another hearing 30 days after that occurs to actually have the amendment move forward. So this is the first step in kind of that process.
In the amendment to the zoning ordinance. So, and I think right now we were saying to allow in the economic development corridor in the general business manufacturing districts, which is like outskirts of town.
So
Right.
what the concept would be was to provide a definition of games of skill. There's been court cases litigating these issues as recently as 2022 and 2023, in which the courts have helped define what a game of skill isn't, which assists you in determining what a game of skill is. So a game of chance, which is regulated under the Pennsylvania gambling laws, is one where your ability to win is based upon chance, as opposed to a game of skill, which is where your ability to win is based on a game of skill. If you go to the casino, you don't have a chance to win every time that you play. In a game of skill, based upon your ability to perform and your ability to play that game, you do have the ability to win every time you play. Those are the difference between the two. One is regulated by gambling, one is not. So employing those terms utilized by the courts, we would provide a specific definition for game of skill because it's different than, the current definitions we have in the zoning ordinance, such as, the amusement games. It's not like a pinball machine. It's not like a pool table. It's not like a dartboard. Things that were contemplated when that definition of game of skill, where amusement games were made. So we'll specifically define it, and then as a result of that new use, the city council is considering amending the zoning ordinance to limit where they are able to be placed, as you do with zoning. And you mentioned the two districts, which I can never keep in mind as to what they are, but they were which two districts again?
Economic Development Corridor and the General Business Manufacturing.
Right, and those are the proposals that's
Arbitrary
on the
zones,
table
but yeah.
today for consideration, in which to get comment from. We would then take, based on the outcome of this hearing, we would then take that, develop that into an ordinance, kick it to city planning, kick it to county planning. They have 30 days in which to provide comment. It would come back to us and we would have another hearing prior to consideration of adoption of an ordinance.
So, so this is a public hearing where mostly we'll hear from you, but I think it's helpful to know where. So thank you.
So, does anybody have any comment with respect to the proposal that council is considering?
I have comments to that. Okay.
Podium, name and where you live. Thank you.
My name is Julie McClymans and I live on 960 Limber Road. With the proposal, from my understanding, it is for future, like we have some that have already moved in, and this would prevent other ones to come in. So my concern and question is the ones that are already moved in. What are our options of regulating them, better understanding their business and their business model. Again, another concern with that is I am right beside the tobacco store, and the store has game skills in the back. And so those have creeped in, and I'm not even sure if they're known that they're back there, if that makes sense, because technically, there's a wall that divides that. So my main question to your proposal is what do we do and how do we regulate those who have already crept in and moved in, and how do we get them, because this ordinance is for anybody who's coming in after it. So again, concern, and also concern just because I myself, besides somebody like this, is dealing with a lot of the regulating it, dealing with the aftermath of it, some of the safety issues, all the concerns everybody else has. I can speak on that with our own business, in being there for 1.5 years beside one of these businesses. So, I've been kind of the cheese that stands alone in all of this already. So my concern is, what are you doing with the ones that are already coming in? That makes sense?
So just so people know as well, not to intrude if I may, council, this is an opportunity for council to hear what your concerns are. I don't think today we have answers for all of those issues, but this is good input for council to have as we're developing the city's response. So thank you for those comments.
Are we going in some special order?
Well, I can start down the list again. I think Tim just kind of asked that.
Sorry.
But go, Sue,
Our
since you're
solicitor's
standing, go
throwing
ahead.
us.
Okay, thanks.
Tony for a loop.
I'm Sue Wyckoff. I live at 370 North Main, but I am also co-owner of the Woolen Mill at 257 Chestnut with my sister Sandy Wyckoff. So I think it's fairly obvious that we invested heavily, really heavily, in our building and in our belief that Meadville has potential to become a destination, and we hoped that we would be part of the beginning of that. I think everybody is also aware that there is the Meadville Community Revitalization effort going on. There was lots of community opportunity to provide input. I've been fortunate enough to be participating in that and just left a meeting where we really came away with some definitions. So my goal is not specifically to just talk about the games of skill, although I would hope that everybody understands they don't add a lot of value to the downtown community in terms of what our overall vision is. Everybody is trying to make a living, and I understand that those games provide pretty quick turnaround in terms of income. That doesn't make them suitable for a beautiful downtown area. So I'd like to tell you that part of what we're focusing on is to preserve, enhance the historic character of our community. Those games are not part of that. To promote environmental, aesthetic, and physical improvements. To promote downtown housing, please think about the fact that if we really want folks to consider living in downtown Meadville, it needs to be a safe and inviting area. We want to promote employment and workforce development. We want to coordinate with government entities to achieve all of this. And so our goal is to have Meadville become a destination, not for gambling, not for smoking, but for beautiful downtown dining and shopping and housing. And the way to do that is not to do quick hits within our business district. So in addition to safety concerns, in addition to addiction concerns that come with quick gambling, we have a desire to have a beautiful downtown, and we would ask that zoning take into account what that means, and maybe put a wrapper around some of that. So those are our concerns. Those are mine in particular. We're trying to grow our business. We're 7 years old, and we thank you for the support. But we want people to feel good about coming into town. Thanks.
Leslie Flynn?
Leslie Flint. I live on Jackson Park here in Meadville. My husband and I own both our home and commercial property and 2 businesses in the city. I own Meadville Boutique and Botanica on Market Street. So my first initial concern with the games is that they prey on a very specific demographic of people in our community. Not just the addicts who will go in there for that quick adrenaline rush, right, which is a real concern, but also they prey on people with low incomes, giving them an idea that maybe if they went in and they dropped a couple bucks, they might win big. So those 2 things are my #1 main concern. As an addict in recovery myself, I've got almost 26 years clean. I take things like this really seriously, and a lot of times you'll hear addicts say that a drug is a drink, is a cookie, is a man, is a game. And so like, it sounds silly. I've talked to several people the last few weeks who think it's ridiculous that I look at it that way, but it's true, right? There's gambling anonymous. So as if that wasn't, something that plagued my thoughts, I'm also really concerned about how it looks for our community. I'm sure the other business owners have had the hospital bring in doctors that they want to move to our community. I have had that. I've also had people who are interested in purchasing tool and die companies in our community. They're interested in starting bigger businesses. They're interested in becoming higher ups for corporations that already exist. This is not our best foot forward. for prime retail space to be full of LED lights and to have litter and trash out front, to have the threat of violence, both physical violence and also robbery, because we're not far from that. We should make sure that we all understand that. We're not far from smashed windows and things of that nature when these businesses come in. But they're taking up prime first floor retail space. I would love to see another boutique come in. Even if it directly competes with me, I'll take it over PA Skills Games any day. But I'm also concerned about the additional weight and stress that this puts on our emergency responders and our police force. If we haven't already, we're not far from seeing overdoses in these locations because they're open 24/7. I wasn't able to get anybody to give me an answer on that, and I understand that privacy is a whole thing when it comes to people's health. But maybe council knows or can get that information from the police force, but we're not far from that either. So not only is it not pretty, and it's not Meadville putting her best foot forward, and there's a threat of violence that will roll over onto the other business owners, but then we have to think about our demographic of human beings that are going in there, and how are we caring for the city of Meadville and all of her people, all of her constituents, if we continue to put her at risk. Thank you.
I have Lindsay Henry, excuse me, Lindsay Henry. Sorry, my apologies.
No, that's okay.
I can read.
It's all good.
My handwriting. No, it's perfect.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Henry. I live on North Main Street, just north of the college. I also own a business downtown, Yoga Spot Meadville, hence my outfit. And just to kind of echo what's already been said, I think both Sue and Leslie and Julie put it really eloquently. It just doesn't reflect the community we're trying to build and the environment we're trying to create. I think there's so many cool things that are happening in downtown Meadville with Second Saturday, the events that Meadville puts on, and having all these skills games popping up in prime locations in the main downtown business district is just kind of putting a wrench in those things. I don't think it makes it as welcoming of an environment for families because of the safety concern, and because they're highly unmonitored and open 24/7. So that's my main concern. Again, a lot of it's already been said, so I'll just echo the sentiments that have already been spoken for. Thank you.
Laura Carpenter.
Hi, my name is Laura. I am not a business owner, but I am, as you can see, a parent here in Meadville. And Chestnut Street very specifically is not the place for these skill games, because let's be honest, they are nothing more than smaller regulation-free wannabe casinos. And they are prominently placed where anyone can walk in on impulse, no different than a magazine at the checkout center of a grocery store. They leave vulnerable populations open to unhealthy behaviors, and they detract from all the efforts that both the city and the people of Meadville have gone to do better for ourselves. As a mother, I do not want my child being exposed to certain behaviors just trying to walk through Second Saturday and enjoy our day. I don't want to see my kid being exposed to those things. So I understand that a lot of smaller businesses have these to supplement income, but these should not be full parlors that are a sole income, and they should not be in our cultural and business center of town where anyone is going and anyone can walk in. So just in conclusion, I just feel that it's not safe for vulnerable populations, it's detrimental to local businesses and cultural efforts, and as a parent, it is not something I want my child being in or around. Thank you.
Kate Costanzo.
Great, I'll pass.
Okay,
For the sake of not echoing everybody else.
that's fine. Joel Trousdale?
So yeah, same,
Okay,
couldn't say better than myself.
okay. John Harkless?
Hi, I'm John Harkless. I live at 426 Chestnut, and I work as the Assistant Director for Crawford County Drug and Alcohol. As many of you know, casinos and games of chance have some requirements through the state in regards to gambling addiction. While the skills games, there is some legislation in the state right now. We would just like to ask that you guys preemptively consider adding some requirements for info on gambling addiction resources, possibly in the licensure process, since they're unregulated. That's pretty much all I have to say, but we'd definitely be happy to help with any of that and providing information on those things as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Ron Maddox?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to speak to everyone not as a downtown business owner. Our office is at Bull Moose Marketing. They're on 231 Chestnut Street, right in the middle of a lot of where these games are at. So I'm going to speak from the perspective of a consultant that works with communities and municipalities on their marketing, particularly for tourism and visitor attraction. And this issue is not unique across the state. I think many already know that. And yes, the state does have legislation that they're working on. However, it really is up to the communities to take and put their best foot forward, and in order to take and market themselves to be a unique place where people want to take and visit and they want to take and live. Looking at, how does, when we talk to people about what their brand is not their logo. The brand is not, that those visual elements that we're all familiar with. Your brand is how you present yourself and what kind of promise you make to people and how you deliver on that promise. So if you are portraying Meadville as a place that's good to move to, safe for families, has a historic character, and yet people come here and they see all of these skill games all over the place, the immediate impression is not the brand that you portrayed as a destination, it's what it is that you're delivering on. So the other part of what we do when we're putting together strategies for municipalities on their brand is how does this impact you economically, and I can tell you that the skill games, that impression, that first impression that somebody has when they come here, if it's a turnoff, then it's money that it's money you're losing. If you've got families coming here that are on a college visit with their kids, and this is the first thing that they see, there's a rippling effect in terms of the money that you potentially are losing because that student's not here. And then also, who knows what that student is going to take and contribute to the community through the course of their academic time here at Allegheny. As you're thinking about all this, believe me, I understand, regulating businesses, I'm not necessarily for that, but there are times that you have to take and weigh out these things and say, okay, what's the best thing here for the community, and try to find a solution. Of course, that's why you're all voted into the positions you are in, and recognize that it's a tough choice to make. But would encourage you to, as coming from the perspective of somebody that works municipalities on how it is that they present themselves, that you take that into account as well.
Okay, that is the last name.
Okay. Notice of oh wait, I'm on the wrong one.
Probably took too many notes.
Yeah. Motion for adjournment.
Can I ask a question? It was Jack. Do you have a thought about how that process would look? I'm just curious. When you said, like...
Well, so a lot of the casino machines have a requirement that like the 1-800 gambling number is put on it, for instance, or just other resources are listed there.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have
I didn't know
a
if there was-
specific thought on how it could be, but it seemed like licensing, I don't know if the solicitor could comment on that, but whether or not you could include a requirement for putting out that type of material in that type of business, I'm not I don't have the legal wherewithal to answer that question now.
Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Meeting adjourned. Roll call? Sorry.
McKnight,
Aye.
Myers.
Aye.
Roa.
Aye.
Vogel.
Now, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you
There
for
you go.
coming.